Okay. All right. Hey, Seth, thank you for joining me here today, man. So for those who are listening into this video here, if you could just briefly describe your name, where you're from, a little bit about your farming operation, and then we'll dive into today's conversation.
I'm Seth Erickson from Galesburg, North Dakota. Farm with my dad and formerly my uncle. We farm about 3,000 acres of corn, wheat, soybeans, edible beans, and sunflowers.
Okay. Awesome. And so first thing I want to ask you is really what was not working for you in life and business before coming into Legacy Farmer?
In business, I had no actual control uh, over what I wanted to do. I didn't have any control over my time. I gave my time away. That's what I did. And for me, not having control over my time was a big factor because it took away from my family and, most importantly, my wife.
Yeah. And how many other farmers and ranchers do you think are in the exact same boat?
Hundreds, thousands. Yeah, it's more than we know of.
I mean, you've seen it in the network, right? Guys come in, they don't have a team in place. They're trying to still build this thing, but yet like they are still either committed to somebody else. They just don't have that freedom or feel like they even have the control to do what they want, right? And truly feel like they have taken the reins.
Yeah.
So since coming into Legacy Farmer, what would you say has been the biggest thing that's changed? I mean, you came in, you came in, we had our conversation and you're like, we're ready to go. So you came in, you were committed, you were ready to go. So what really has changed for you since coming in?
What's really changed is being able to give myself permission to do what I want to do or to do what I know is best for me and my family.
Yeah. And we just had a conversation about that this morning, right, on our boardroom call about permission.
Yeah, and yeah, I would say that's the biggest thing is saying it's okay, and it's okay to, there's consequences to every action, and you got to just tell yourself, weigh the pros and cons, and be okay with that. And you don't have to ask mom or dad or aunt or uncle. You don't need that. You have to do what's best for you and be okay with what happens. If you make, a calculated choice based on what you think is best for you, you need to be okay going ahead and doing it.
And that's what I'm trying to build in with you guys is that permission, because it is such a struggle that we see, because it's hard. It is so freaking hard to separate from everything that's been familiar and to feel like you're abandoning the family or you're being a bad person for this, when reality is you're just trying to take a stand for you and your family. And it was the same thing for you. And the difference with you, though, is that you came in with that commitment that you knew you had to give yourself permission. You knew you did. And a lot of other members do too. And other people who would be watching this or who know that they need to take the permission for themselves, but they don't know how. They don't know how. They haven't put the pressure on themselves to do that. And we came in and you came in and decided that, you were going to take a stand for yourself and figured out how can we apply this? What conversations do we need to have had? And because of that, man, like you shared too, the experiences now you get to have, the freedom you get to have, the control you get to have now because you took a stand. So it's powerful.
Yeah, I've never, working, I always thought I was working for myself, but, in retrospect, I never was. And now, being able just to take control, I'm not just taking control of, the farming operation or the seed business, I'm taking control of my life, taking control of my marriage, my relationships with my parents and, my brothers and sister and Almost feel like I'm back to being a person again.
Yep. It's awesome. So next thing I want to ask you is, so since coming in, what's you've been in, I believe, since about May, so about 4 months now. Since you've been in, what's been your favorite thing about Legacy Farmer?
I've really enjoyed the boardroom calls. We think we're alone in our situation. Everyone's a little unique, but really, there's a lot of people just like me out there, and to get their perspective and to get ideas from the group on what we can do with, how to spend money, or how to deal with the relationship at home when things are busy on the farm. I'd say the boardroom calls are my favorite.
And would you say it's just because you have somewhere to go to, talk the truth, speak the truth, to learn from each other? We want the same thing here. Everybody wants the same thing. We want to build and have something sustainable, successful, right? And all that outside noise, like it's all removed. And would you say like there's just an energy or a power around that, having that circle that you can trust or, have to go to?
Yeah, it's therapeutic. And you can be yourself 100%. You don't have to lie. You don't have to tell half truths. It's confidential, and people listen and can empathize because most of them have been in the same place. Mm-hmm. And so you just you can be yourself, and you don't have to hide.
Yep. And that's what we want. Like that's the space that we want. And it is all about, telling the truth and just being honest with yourself. We have to be honest here, and that's what we're going to drill into. And it starts with us. If we're not honest too, it cascades onto our families, onto everybody else around us. We're going to speak the truth here. And if we get called out on it, which some of us will be, right. But it creates that space of integrity. And that's what we want to build here. Because we have other people looking after us too. We have kids, wives that are looking after, we want to create that space there for them too, and leave our legacy in them.
Yeah. And if you've never had a space to be yourself and to be actually truthful and to get that opportunity, if you can do it there, you'll kind of see it spill over into other parts of your life. Yeah. And that's where you can really find benefit.
Yeah. 100%. Okay, so last thing. So let's say someone was sitting on the fence about joining Legacy Farmer. If you could give them a little piece of advice or a few words, what would you tell them?
Well, I would say, most likely you have a gut feeling when listening to these podcasts that this is for me. And I would say don't wait. Yes, there's a financial commitment, but thinking about your return on investment, be that better business situations, better financial management, healing a marriage, being there for your kids, I would just say, now is the time. There's no need to wait any longer, because most likely you've been suffering for a long time. Then it's time to take control and put an end to it.
That describes you 100% when you came in. You're willing, you're committed, you knew it was something you had to do, you felt the pain, and you were ready to move away from that.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Rip the Band-Aid off, 100%. There was no tiptoeing with you. And because of that, there has been dramatic results in just these 3-4 months. Even just in that first month, you had those conversations you needed to. And you healed a lot of those relationships, or healed those things you needed to, just within that first month, because you finally stepped into something that was going to challenge you. But, we weren't turning back. It was going forward. And that scares a lot of people. It does. But you know what? If we don't decide to move into that, we're going to be stuck where we're at 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now. Like, it's going to happen. And you are just a prime example of what happens when you make a commitment. First phone call, never forget. Went through the investment. You're like, yep, that's good. Let's go. I'm like, all right, this guy is going to see some dramatic shifts coming up real quick because of the commitment. There was no hesitation with you.
Well, when you're a kid or something, when you're a kid and you see a sweet jump and you're on your bike, you just go for it. Yeah. But the older we get, we become, we're more risk averse. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us could do well by having that kid mindset once in a while and just, hey, we know this is right, and just do it.
Yep, 100%, man. All right, Seth. Hey, thanks for taking the time to join me here today, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Andy.